Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
It's off to the Queen City of Cincinnati to meet the Bengals for a Bears team looking to improve their red zone offense, find a solution to the rash of penalties that have bogged them down at times, and earning their fifth win of the season as we hit the midpoint. We discuss tonight here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 on the Chicago Bears Radio Network with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, it's Coordinator Thursday, and therefore we hear from the trio and Bears starting cornerback Nahshon Wright, along with Batavia product Kenny Anderson, one of the all-time greats of the Cincinnati Bengals, who join us. That is from our Bears Etc. podcast, a big Bears fan growing up, just like my partner Tom Thayer. Dan Brilli, Jordan Tredup, Katie Fox, our producers, along with Kendra Smith in studio, the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Tom, my eyes went right to the injury report for the Bears. Good news on Thursday here earlier, so DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Alameda Zacchaeus, all upgraded at least to limited. Does that give you a better feel for Sunday in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it sure does, because last week we didn't really see a lot of DeAndre Swift, and he ended up playing a full game and doing everything the coaching staff is asking of them. And I think all these players are mature enough and they've been around long enough that don't give the coaches false hope. If you can't go, you're not ready to go, and you can't give a full game's effort on Sunday, don't give the appearance that you can. So I think that's the best thing that these players can do in this stretch with no bye weeks left. You got to be honest with the coaches about if you can go or not.
And Luther Burden, still with concussions issues, so he did not practice for a second day. Now, Tyreek Stevenson, Tommy, shoulder, full practice today.
It kind of doesn't surprise me, because I've always thought that Tyreek Stevenson is one of the toughest guys on the field since he's been here. He seems to rebound quickly, even if he has some type of hiccup on the actual game day experience. And I just hope it's something that he doesn't have to favor, because the one thing about a cornerback, especially as versatile as Tyreek, is you have to be able to stretch with both arms. And if you're going to deflect with your right, you got to be able to deflect with your left. So I guess we'll see evidence of that, and the training staff will see evidence of that during his preparation time.
And Cole Kmet, a second straight day of being limited. Still no DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, and Dominique Robinson. The Bengals, as of this show, don't have the injury report yet, but Joe Flacco was back at practice today. How much he participated is unknown. They're sticking with the 50-50 chance that he'll be the starter. Jake Browning would be the backup, and Jake Browning in 3 starts with the Bengals, 0-3. They average only 12 points and 278 yards a game, and that's when they traded for Flacco on October 7th. Production went way up, not only as we discussed on the podcast, Tommy, the passing game and the influence of Jamar Chase getting a ton of targets and catches, but the running game started to really populate the stat sheet here in the last couple games for Cincinnati.
Yeah, the last couple games is because of the amount of targets that they're giving to Jamar Chase, and he's catching a lot of those balls. So now they have to have extra eyes on him no matter where he's lined up. And what that does is it reduces the amount of bodies and eyes that you can have at the line of scrimmage. And then there's one less guy for the offensive line to be responsible for, and then they can have more of a sustained combination block at the line of scrimmage that increases the size of the hole. So everything goes hand in hand in football. And even the case of Jake Browning, I bet you Jake Browning has done a lot of studying of Joe Flacco in these last couple weeks. I expect Joe Flacco to be ready, and no one knows himself better than himself.
Yeah, at 40, he should, right?
Yeah,
He's got to know what he can and cannot do. And he frankly has nothing to lose at this point either. How about Trey Hendrickson? He is not practicing again. That's a hip injury for him. He is their best defensive player by a long shot and a feared pass rusher. The Bengals 32nd in scoring defense, allowing 31 points a game. They've allowed 27-plus points and 350-plus total yards in 7 straight games. That ties for the longest single-season streak in NFL history, which would take us to the 1966 Oilers and of recent vintage, the 2004 Chiefs and the 2020 Jaguars. They've had a lot of problems defensively, and yeah, he is. He's a guy that's going to cause you a problem wherever he lines up. Also, if he plays.
But he doesn't have to practice. And the thing about it is you'll see evidence of what hip is affecting him depending upon where he lines up most, because on one side you push off with your right leg, the other side you push off with your left leg. If you had significant pain, if you were pushing off one leg or the other, then I would play him to the side that he wasn't necessarily pushing off that leg. But in his skill level, he's not a guy that has to be out there and get 100 practice reps during the week. If you can somehow get him some conditioning inside the building, try to let his hip recover during the course of the week, that's why they paid him, and that's what he's paid to do.
Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen has familiarity with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the newest Chicago Bear, taking reps at the nickel spot with Kyler Gordon down on the injured reserve list. They brought him aboard. Kevin Byard yesterday as he reacted to the reputation as an agitator on the field. But this was his quote: I'm under the belief that I think on each side of the ball, offense, defense, you need at least one or two of those guys on the field because they bring a certain level of juice. This game is played violently. You need somebody to go in there and be that spark. Everybody keeps referencing Dennis Rodman and the Bulls. I can't put him in that category, but I guess he may be the football version. But I think he's also got talent, and he's intercepted 18 career passes. He had 12 interceptions on 2 different stints with the Eagles. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been a playoff defensive back for the majority of his career wherever he's gone. So this is a player that has got my attention, and it'll be interesting to see when he wears the navy blue and orange, Tommy.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to liking him because I've disliked him so much up until this point. His antagonistic approach to the opponent on the field gets reaction from the different receivers and other people that he's played against. But I want that to be my Bear.
Yep.
And I want everything that these guys say about him comes true. I want him to have that attitude that they talk about him having. Kevin Byard, he's been around the NFL long enough to know that, yeah, 1 or 2 of those guys on a football team are good to have. So he's our Gardner Johnson, and he's my Gardner Johnson.
I like it. All right. We'll hear from Dennis Allen later on in the show, but coming up next, Nahshon Wright, the Bears cornerback, the starter, joins us. A sit-down with him for our player profile. You can see that yourself on Sunday when we do Bears Game Day Live from Cincinnati at 10:30 on Sunday morning. This is Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears production on the flagship home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by IGS Energy. Had an opportunity to visit, really for the first time in depth, a conversation with Nahshon Wright, the Bears cornerback, familiarity with Al Harris, lots of topics, including a difficult journey to get from the Bay Area in Oakland, California to the NFL. Here's Nahshon Wright.
It feels good. You gain confidence as the season goes along, and when the plays are being made, it also helps to gain confidence alongside with the wins. For me, I try to stay grounded. Just coming from where I came from, the journey I've had to this point, and I have the right people, the right coaches, and just the right support, just to keep me grounded and just keep me in it.
Yeah, you've experienced a lot in a short time in this NFL, getting drafted, 3rd round. That's a very good draft status right there with the Cowboys. Getting traded, getting released, signing, right? You know what's interesting about that? Al Harris went through the same thing.
For sure.
He was your defensive back coach.
Yeah.
So is that relatable? Does he see that in you? Do you see that in him? Does he talk about that? Have you studied that? And what is that like for a player?
No, we definitely talked about it. He's always just said, just to stay down and work hard on it. And that's been my motto, just to work hard. I mean, I hadn't got here without hard work. And then he just always would tell me, when the opportunity presents itself, just take full advantage. And I've had the shot, so I'm just trying to live in the moment and play as best as I can. And
you've had some great moments already.
For sure.
Take me back to the pick six, just for fun, Yeah,
break
down the play.
Now that one, DA had the perfect call for that situation, and the way we teach it is just go get the ball, and that play allowed me to be flat-footed And I made a break on my man and got my eyes back, and the ball was there. And then from there, a lot of people don't think I'm that fast, but from there it was a wrap.
You're a strider, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you feel you have build-up speed?
Yeah, I definitely have build-up speed for sure.
And then the interception last week, which now puts you second in interception return yards this year in the NFL behind Devin Lloyd, the linebacker, and Jackson.
Who's 99. Yeah, I got to catch up.
But break down that one for me.
Again, DA put us in like the perfect car for that situation. The formation and set they kind of gave me an idea of what type of route concept I was going to get. And even if you watch the play, I was just a step behind, but I was able to kind of dive and make the play, and then from there just get up and then try to go score. I wish I would have scored.
That's the mentality. The old Bears under love you every time they got a takeaway. First of all, Urlacher would yell, "We got one."
Yeah.
He'd yell it loud, "We got one," and everybody started blocking for everybody, like it was like a running play, a punt return or whatever. And they start putting the ball in the end zone. They couldn't be stopped over that period of time. I sensed it, with Brisker's run, Byard's getting these, Tremaine. There's going to be more defensive touchdowns.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot more where that came from.
What is Al Harris to you?
Man, everything. He's the reason why I'm still in this league, especially just being cut from Minnesota and him still believing in me even after not being with him for a year and allowing me to have the opportunity to come in here and showcase my talents. He's meant a lot to me. Like I said, he's the reason why I'm still in this, and I'm in this seat right here talking to you. So I credit a lot of my success to him.
What's he changed about how you play?
Not much, because even in college, I was always a ball guy. Like I like to go get the ball. Dating back to junior college, even high school, I didn't play a lot of defense, but when I did, every time I got in, I had an interception.
Did you get recruited strictly as a defensive player, or did you get recruited as an offensive player?
So I actually went to junior college as a receiver, and the coach that I played for, he was an offensive-minded guy. He loved to run the ball. And I wasn't going to see a lot of targets playing receiver. And the defensive coordinator, Coach Ramos, he kind of came up to me and was just like, come play defense for me. He didn't care what position, whether it was safety or corner. And then the corner coach was like, play corner. And the first day was a rough day. And then from there on, it was kind of like I just kind of caught my groove. And then Al definitely changed a little bit of how I played, but yeah.
And that was Laney.
Laney College.
And where is that exactly?
Oakland, California.
Oakland, California. Okay. And your brother, Rajon.
Yeah.
Who we saw last week. Was that the first time you guys were together on the field in the NFL?
Yes.
So was that emotional?
Yeah. For many reasons. Just coming from where we come from, not a lot of people make it. And then the other part is like we always played together. We played together Little League, high school, junior college, and then the full circle moment was Sunday, getting to see him on that sideline. Even the adversity he dealt with, going undrafted, and finding a way to make the 53 this year was amazing. And then for the most important reason was like we had all our family there, and then our father, he missed it due to his passing in 2017. But no, it was definitely emotional, but it was more like it was a happy, like more so happy, just because of what we've been through.
If anyone's seen the Last Chance U series, Rajon and yourself was part of that documentary, and it was discussed. Your father, he shot and killed.
Yes.
Trying to break up a fight outside of San Jose.
Yeah.
Establishment. Navy.
Yeah, he was in the Navy.
Navy. Yeah. Rocked the family.
Yeah and no, actually, because even with my dad's passing, like I grew a relationship with my grandmother, who I talk to every day, who's helped me get closer to God. So, yeah, it definitely rocked us because, that's our father. We needed him, especially at that time, especially what I was going through, didn't know whether I wanted to work or play football. And my dad always had it, like he would always tell me, go play football. I got the work, play football, I got you. So it definitely rocked us in that sense, but also I got closer with my grandmother, God, my younger brother, who I had to kind of father in a sense.
And what is her name?
Corinne.
Corinne?
Yes.
Tell me about her quickly.
Man, she's everything. And my dad would always tell us, like, man, call your grandma. Your grandma, she got you. Like, and after my dad passed, like, I actually got to see that. And we always had a relationship with our grandmother. We would go stay over every now and then with our cousins. But as of recent, like the last, 7-8 years now, we've been super close. Like, I go visit my grandmother all the time. Last year, she actually, she helped me get baptized. So my grandma, she's everything. She was actually supposed to make it this past Sunday, but she didn't want to bombard me because we had about 20 folks here. But she's definitely going to come up. But yeah, my grandmother's everything.
Laney, at that time, I mean, this is turmoil because it's a financial situation. Your family was struggling at the time, right?
For sure. My mom is actually doing pretty well for herself. The financial struggle on our end was just the commute. My mother lived an hour away, but really 2 hours with the traffic. So I had basketball coaches from my high school that kind of looked out for me. And like if I needed something, I could text them and just be like, can I get a few dollars? And they would send me money just to fill my tank and stuff like that. So those are the things I don't forget. So his son is in high school. So every chance I get to go home, I go spend some time with him. And I just recently went and sat down and watched his whole practice. Actually the week before training camp started. So yeah, I mean, those are the things I don't forget because a lot of people helped me on this journey. So yeah.
And it sounds like they still are.
Yeah,
I mean, right?
Definitely.
And because it is an endless journey. Your life is an endless journey. You know, you're going to meet new people. I say every 7 years, the people that are super close in your life, sometimes God takes a few spokes out of that tire and puts somebody else in there
For
that
sure.
you don't even anticipate, right? To keep that tire going. So would you say you and your brother were long shots to make it here?
I would say. Not because of talent, but just
circumstances.
Just the circumstances. I think we had everything against us, and we actually have a group of friends that, and there's 6 of us, and out of 6 of us, 5 of us made it to Division I college. Actually, the 6th one, he's in college still, but we all won Division I, and out of those 5, 3 of us made it to the NFL, being me, my cousin, Mekhi Blackman, who plays for the Colts, and then my brother. So we always kept each other grounded, even through COVID. Like my younger brother, actually, when he got his FAFSA check, he bought like a weight room set. And so during COVID, when everybody was kind of didn't know what was going on, we would all stay at my mom's house and we would work out together. So that was kind of like our little bubble. And we still have that deep connection. We still text every day. So, yeah.
And that's you speaking of Rajon.
Rajon, Mekhi, my stepbrother, Dejan, my cousin, Alton Julian, who's actually coaching in college right now, and my other cousin, Davion.
Hey, Bay Area, not simple.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you're a Chicago Bear
exactly.
that loves taking the ball away and playing violent football.
For sure.
That's the last part of this. How fun has it been back there?
Man, it's been fun. Just seeing the guys fly around. You got KB, got 4 picture, had 5.
Oh, yeah.
Tremaine,
I forgot about that one.
Reek, me, Kyler back, Briss, TJ back out there flying around. Honestly, if it wasn't for his drop pick, I wouldn't have got mine. So, man, the guys are out there flying around. The front is, man, they get into the quarterback. So it's been fun.
Tom, he told a story. It was revealing. Sometimes those stories are hard to talk about. What a story, though, that he and his brother got to share. That was quite the story, quite the journey.
Boy, am I pulling for him. You appreciated his work ethic and where he is at this present day. It's tear-jerking to think what he's gone through in the course of his life, and then the people that have surrounded him with giving him the support and the love that a kid like this needed in order to achieve the ultimate success. And I think he's only scratching the surface. And from this day forward, wherever he plays with the Bears or any other team, I will pull for him. And it was an awesome interview, and I super encourage everybody that had a chance to listen to it. just pay attention and listen to some of the difficulties and obstacles these guys overcome to be successful. It's all right there in that interview.
Great kid, wonderful kid. Love talking to him, and I wish him well. All right, when we come back,
I'm all in with him.
We'll join the coordinators, Declan Doyle, Richard Hightower, and Dennis Allen. All coming up next here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is ESPN Chicago, WNVP, WTBC, HD2 Chicago, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer chatting about the Bears. It must be Bears Weekly.
Well, if it's Bears Weekly,
it must be the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Jeff and Tom breaking things down for Bears and Bengals. Let's start on special teams. Richard Hightower, Tom, returns way up, and Devin Duvernay coming off a 49-yard return. I saw him in the locker room earlier this week. I said, man, you're this close. I keep telling him he's going to bring one to the house. I love this guy. He's a serious football player, a little dynamo, and I love how he runs back, kicks, and punts. So Richard Hightower and Duvernay and the dynamic kickoff and the impact it's making.
What stood out was guys in good position with good hat placement, good hand placement, finishing through the whistle. And we just like to see more of that, And I thought Duvernay made an excellent cut. He sold it. He set it up nicely. And to get the ball, in their territory, to the 47-yard line, I believe it was, into Baltimore's territory, was a huge play for that unit, and hopefully we'll see more of those going forward.
How have you personally adjusted to the increase in returns? They're just almost everyone's getting returned at this point.
Yeah.
How has that affected your day-to-day preparation? Or are you spending more time in practice on returns just because of the way that's changing right now across the league?
Yeah, I think you have to, because in the past it hadn't been a football play. And any team that don't understand it is a football play now, or even going forward. If they didn't understand it back then, they should understand it now. Kickoffs in the game is here to stay. You better have guys on your team that can cover kicks, and you better have guys that can return kicks, and you better have guys that can block.
81% returned this year. Only 2.6% are kicked out of bounds or short of the landing zone because there was that big fear. I think a total of 32 kicks in the league through the first 8 weeks of the season. I know it bothers you when actually a kickoff goes into the end zone now.
It does, just because I consider the field position that the team gets. Look, if they want to kick into the end zone for the Bears, I'm okay with that because you get 35 to 40-yard line as starting field position. But one thing about your interview with Hightower, I'm glad that he referred to kickoff return as a real football play. And it really is, because in the specificness of the design of the play, you'd have different types of blocking angles and different approach in how you're going to create or open up a hole. And I'm waiting to see more creativeness out of the special teams coaches over the next couple of years when they get a chance to analytically look at to see what's working and what's not working. What angles of approach are opening up a visible hole for the returner? How can you sustain a block for some of the defensive players really that don't get a high volume of blocks throughout the course of their career? So I'm glad Hightower is seeing it as a real football play.
Yeah, and I bet you a lot of these guys, these coordinators right now, have something in their hip pocket at a key moment. We're going to look at this as situational football now because of what the scoreboard says. The moment in the game, is it fourth quarter, you're behind, you need a spark, something that's really special it's an unscouted look. Because it is hard. It is hard to return a kick for a touchdown in this league right now.
It is, and I thought with the way the players were placed on the field that there would be a higher success rate of kick returns for touchdowns. But when you consider the flight of the football, where it lands, and then when they have to take it out, and it usually starts at the goal line, there is a significant separation there between returner and front line of defense. But that space and that time is taken up quickly, and there hasn't been a high volume of kickoff returns for touchdowns that I thought there might be.
All right, now let's flip over to Dennis Allen and the arrival now of the aforementioned cornerback Going to look at him in the slot for right now, put him at one position. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the question asked by the media up at Hallis Hall, as this young man matured in ways that will not harm the Bears as they move forward with him on this defense.
I've seen a player that's matured a little bit, and yet he still has that fiery attitude, which I think that's what makes him who he is.
With Jamar Chase, what's kind of the most dangerous tool in the toolbox of this?
All of it. You know what I mean? Look, he's got good speed. He's got a really good catch radius. He really basically catches anything that's anywhere near him. And he does a great job of getting in and out of breaks. I mean, his transition skills are outstanding. He's an exceptional player. And, when you watch the tape, especially over the last few weeks, they're feeding some targets to him. And there's times I look on the tape, I'm like, there's two dudes draped all over him, and they're still throwing the ball to him, So they got a lot of confidence in what he can do. And, he's an explosive player and somebody that's going to be a challenge for us to have to deal with.
You faced him a few years ago. What stands out about that matchup the first time you got to see him out there?
All those same things. He's a damn good football player. And he's going to be a guy that we're going to have to pay attention to and know where he's at. And yet he's not the only one that's on the field that we got to deal with, So he'll be a big part of what we have to do game plan wise, but they've got some other weapons that we have to deal with too.
What have you seen from Austin Booker in practice, and what are your expectations for him?
I really think the last couple of weeks, I think he's been outstanding in practice, and so, I think, he'll get an opportunity to get out there, I think, this week, and we'll see exactly what he can do, but I'm excited about watching him play for sure. Things that we've done to be able to affect the passer.
How has Joe Flacco been able to stay in the league as long as he's been able to?
It's probably a better question for him, and yet I would say this. I would say, he's a professional. You know that he understands football. He works at it. He studies at it. You don't come in, in 1 week and play the quarterback position without, having some real intelligence about you in terms of what you can do. And I think, one thing that's, doesn't change when he's 41, when he was 25, when he's 55, he can spin it, and I think he throws the ball exceptionally well.
Is his experience, does that kind of shrink the margin for error in the secondary in the sense that he has seen so much that if he has time back there, he's going to find wherever the lapse.
Yeah, look, I think anytime you play one of these veteran quarterbacks that's been around the league for a long time and seen a lot of things, you have to be on point. There's not a lot of things that you can get away with. There's not a lot of things that really fool those guys. So we're going to have to execute, and really, honestly, that's the same each and every week. Our ability to go out and execute. And do our jobs and do them exactly right. When we do those things, we have a high probability of success.
Dennis Allen knows this player, and he certainly knows what the impact of Jamar Chase, as he alluded to there, just a terrific player right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tyreek Stevenson looks like he'll be a go. He was at full practice on Thursday. Things could change, obviously, but how do you defend this situation with Flacco, assuming he plays, and Jamar Chase, and what the introduction of Gardner-Johnson will do to the Bengals?
First of all, I got to get creative with the line of scrimmage. And I know Joe Flacco has basically seen everything in his time in the NFL, but somehow you got to be creative with the way that you put your deployable weapons up or near the line of scrimmage. So you put the offensive line into a guessing game, or sometimes trying to understand who's coming and where they're coming from. Because with Joe Flacco being 41 years old, you just got to get him in an awkward position for maybe a second and a half. And that means, an awkward throwing position where he's on the run, he's on the retreat. You're not giving him chances to, have extended vision to his receivers. So a lot of it is going to be how creative you can be on the line of scrimmage, the battles that you can win up front. Coach Ben Johnson has said that when these defensive rushers know that they get a one-on-one battle, they got to win that battle. And there's probably a game that's never more evident of that than this week.
All right, coming up next, we're joined by the former Bengals quarterback, Batavia product in Augustana College, the great Kenny Anderson, a local Bears fan. Obviously, he's a Bengal at heart. 16-year NFL career from our podcast, Bears, etc. earlier this week. It's coming up next on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by IGS Energy. All right, Tommy, Kenny Anderson was our guest this week on our Bears Etc. podcast. It just dropped on Thursday, so check it out wherever you get your podcast. There was a bond you guys had, Joliet and Batavia, just a few farm fields away, as you said, right, many times. Let's listen in. Kenny Anderson grew up a Bears fan. He had a great affection for the Chicago Bears. Thought maybe there was an outside chance the Bears might take a look at him back in the day.
Well, if George Halas would have listened to Jack Brickhouse, we might have been teammates, on that 85 team. I don't know, but, of course, everybody knows Jack Brickhouse, and his daughter was in my class at Augustana. And he would come out for Parents' Weekend every year, which was always around a football game. And after my freshman year, he goes back and tells George that, I don't know, but there's this quarterback out of Augustana that looks pretty good. And then he'd come out the next year and he said, he's getting better. And then, by my junior and senior year, he said, I think this kid has got something, but I think the Bears were one of the few teams that didn't scout me.
I did hear that story, but it's crazy. I'm assuming you grew up a big Bears fan.
Oh, heck yeah. My uncle, who's like my older brother, would take me to a Bears game every year. And I remember my favorite player to try to beat Harlan Hill, the great wide receiver, because we're walking out trying to get autographs, and I was too shy to go up to anybody. And Harlan saw that, and he came over to me and said, "Would you like my autograph?" And from then on, but of course, Billy Wade, Rudy Bukic, loved those guys.
Do you remember your first Bears game at Wrigley and or most memorable?
The most memorable one was, I had to be, maybe junior high or something like that. It was a Bears-Packer game. And we're there with a row of drunks from Green Bay in front of us and a row of drunks from Chicago behind us. It was a great game. I don't know what happened on the field, but it was a very entertaining game.
Nowadays, that would just break out into a big brawl at the end of the game, and it would be on social media and spread all over the place.
Oh, no, I know it. And that was, one of my dreams was to play at Wrigley Field. And I think the first time we played the Bears when I was with the Bengals was 1972, and I think that might have been their first year in Soldier Field.
Yep.
So I never got to play in Wrigley.
Ken, when you look at the quarterback position today and you look at what you went through back in the day, and I was in the USFL and I played with Greg Landry, who I think at that time was the most sacked quarterback in the history of the NFL. The abuse you guys took, were you not protected enough, or are they overprotected today?
I think somewhere in the middle. It's you could hit a quarterback in the head, in the knees, as long as it wasn't late. And I remember many times, getting the forearm through the face mask, after I let go of the football, and there was no penalty. Today I think, we're so aware of what the quarterback position means, and especially look at Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow not playing and what he means to the team. I think you've got to protect those guys, but I just don't like it when you brush him and it's a 15-yard penalty.
Do you ever think about wearing more than a double bar face mask after getting those forearm shivers to the nose?
Nah, it was, I almost converted when we went to the striped helmets because they didn't make the double bar in black. So our equipment guy, Tom Gray, we tried painting it, and then the paint would chip off, and then we tried putting electrical tape around it, and that would peel off. So most of the pictures you see, it's half gray, half black.
Well, you had to have room for the mustache.
That's exactly right.
Did you play your entire career with that mustache?
No, I did not grow it until 81. We had a tough season, in 80, and I went down on a golf trip with some guys, decided to let it grow, and it just stayed from there.
The abuse was so far worse than today. I mean, you were tough. You were also much more athletic than I think you ever got credit for. And I know you gained almost 2,300 yards in your career rushing. But you, to me, were a very professorial figure as a quarterback. Everything technique-wise, fundamentals seemed to be perfect. I know that's never the case, but is that a fair analysis of you from the outside in without knowing how you were inside out?
Well, I think so, and I think a lot of that's because my first coach was Bill Walsh when I got to Cincinnati, and he was really the first one that, put the depth of the quarterback's drop to go along with the depth of the wide receivers, as crazy as that may seem. But, and that's what we worked on, our drops and our timing, and we had progressions we were going to go through. It's, 1, 2, 3, where's your outlet? And, as you progressed in that offense, I mean, I know what I was looking at, and on my first step, I knew whether number 1 was going to be there. And so by the time I hit my set point, I was already on to number 2 and number 3. So a lot of it had to do with, I think, the genius of Bill Walsh. And then a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit late in my career was Lindy Infante, who came in and, he ended up, being a head coach in the league later on. But he was another one that I've gotten into some bad habits, and we watched a lot of film and got back to those same mechanics. And that's kind of when all of a sudden the 81-82 seasons crept up again.
And when I was watching the Freezer Bowl, to me, I still think it's maybe the coldest game in history, Cincinnati against the San Diego Chargers in the playoffs. That ended up being the beginning of 82. I almost didn't know if I wanted to play professional football because I watched you guys go out in the field, and I was looking at how cold it was. So just some of your locker room memories or your game memories of that game, which is horrific. And I suggest any young person that wants to look at this, go to YouTube and look a couple minutes of the Freezer Bowl.
It was amazing because, of course, the Packers-Cowboys game was the coldest game by the thermometer. I think they were 13 below or something like that. It was only 9 below in Cincinnati, but with the wind chill, it was 59 below, which was the coldest game in history.
Oh, my God.
But I think my best moment of that game was in the first quarter because they had brought in heated benches, which we had never seen before. And so I'm over there, in the middle of the first quarter, we scored a touchdown, and I'm sitting there and, I'm sitting on my hands to try to warm them up, and they got these little slots for your feet to go in. And luckily I kept my helmet on because all of a sudden there's a big roar in the crowd, and I'm standing up to see if there's a turnover if I'm going back in. Well, I go up, my feet don't come out, and I go down, and the first thing that hits is my face mask, and I'm hearing birds and seeing stars, and I'm going, oh my God. I'm calling for the trainer for smelling salts. I said, I can't get knocked out of the AFC Championship game falling off the bench. And, of course, there weren't as many cameras in those days. There were no cell phones, so nobody caught it. But in today's world, I might have had to gone into concussion protocol and not finish the game.
Unbelievable. These stories this is why I love this sport, beyond just the obvious, the X's and O's and what it means each and every week and every snap. But the stories that this league can tell, and men like you, I'm grateful and appreciative.
I got one more for you because Tom was on the team. We played the Bears in '85 in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And Boomer was starting, and we're getting killed, and Boomer's getting killed. And so Sam White says, Kenny, I want you to go and play the fourth quarter. I go, why? He said, well, you haven't played much. We're in the playoff hunt. It's going in. And so I'm running out in the field, and all the Bears defense says, Kenny, throw the ball. We need more sacks. And I go, oh, this doesn't sound good. So I'm looking over the sidelines. They signal a pass, and I'm thinking off-tackle right's a much better call. And so now it's second down and 8. They signal in a pass, and I'm going, toss sweep to the left. I think it's got a good chance. Well, now it's third down and 4, and they send it in a pass, and I'm going to draw plays. Ought to really work here. It was 3 and out, and I go to the sideline, and Sam says, well, we're signaling in passes. Why aren't you calling them? I said, Sam, you got the third-string quarterback sending them in, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. So I'm just kind of – I threw one short yardage pass in that game.
What do you think of today's quarterbacks?
Of course, I think it starts, in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, who I think I don't know if I'd trade him for anybody, and then you got Mahomes and Josh Allen and, gosh, the kid at Washington who's hurt now, but, he had a great rookie year. I think you've got one in Caleb Williams in Chicago. I think with good coaching he's really going to be a good player. And, it's amazing how you watch some of these quarterbacks and all of a sudden it may be their second or third team, but they get around, good players and good coaching. Baker Mayfield, for example, with what he's doing down in Tampa Bay. Daniel Jones, what he's doing in Indianapolis. So I think coaching still makes a difference. But I remember my year when I was drafted in 71, it was the first year of the quarterback. It was Jim Plunkett, Archie Manning, and Dan Pastorini with the first 3 picks of the draft. And then Lynn Dickey and I went in the 3rd round and Joe Theismann in the 4th. And they did an article in Sports Illustrated about that class a couple of years ago. And Jim Plunkett said, of all the guys, Kenny was the lucky one. He got to go to Cincinnati with an established team and an established coach and Bill Walsh. And then, you look at Jim. I mean, he goes to New England, had no success. And he goes to San Francisco, has no success. He gets to Oakland around some good players and a guy like Tom Flores, and all of a sudden he's winning Super Bowls. So you are a product of your situation a lot of times.
I always ask you on these interviews after the fact, as you had time to let it simmer, and what'd you learn?
You just learn what a competitive guy he is and what an intelligent guy he is. And I remember watching them. I mean, he's not a peer, but he's close to me because I spent a lot of time in the NFL watching him, watching his toughness, watching some of the less than perfect circumstances he played throughout his career, how successful he was. And, I knew a lot about him just because I heard of, a kid from Batavia going to Augustana and having the success that he had. And now I'm pulling for him and hopefully he makes the Hall of Fame. But, he was a leader on that football team. He was a leader on a football team that had some really good players on it over the course of time. Unfortunately didn't win a Super Bowl, but he had a lot of quarterback success.
Yeah, he did get a ring, though, as a coach for Ben Roethlisberger, for Mike Tomlin's staff in 2008 when they won a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. All right, when we return, our final segment, Tom's Thoughts. We'll hear from Declan Doyle on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Bears.
It is good!
Bears Weekly.
Time expires!
A deep dive into all things Bears.
And the Bears win!
With Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, this is the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, as we take a final look at the Bears and Bengals. Declan Doyle speaking on the offense and the issues in the red zone, but also the penalties. A penalty discussion, a big topic here up at Hallis Hall.
We've gone back and kind of looked at every penalty we've committed. Just trying to, obviously, we're all looking to clean all those things up throughout the whole team, but we're kind of using some unorthodox things as far as out there on the practice field that you might not see. But it's something that we're addressing and is really important for us to be able to stay on schedule and be able to move the ball offensively and be effective and finish with touchdowns.
Like what? What's
I don't want to give. I don't want to give any of that away.
You had every penalty, though. Is that something that you just did this week?
No,
went back?
We've done it every week as we've gone. And you're just trying to identify, can we teach it better? Are we asking our guys to do things that are too much for them? Or is there an issue, whether it's communication or is there something happening that is causing those things? And that's really, as we evaluate it, that's what we're trying to attack. You figure out what is the problem and then create a plan to attack that.
Tom, the Bears still do lead the NFL in false starts. That penalty yardage way up. And, obviously the offensive penalties, the pre-snap is the ones that get Ben Johnson's blood up. Other penalties are going to happen, but he'd like that to go away and as soon as possible.
Right. Listen, Declan Doyle stood up there and said that it's, a weekly occurrence. You're always fixing mistakes. You're always looking at the penalties and how they affect the outcome of the game. The process of learning between a quarterback and then the other 10 guys, and then the consistency of the volume of the cadence out of your mouth. It takes a period of time. It takes thousands of reps. And when you're talking about thousands of reps, you get home reps and you get on the road reps. And on the road reps, it's more of a silent count unless you're directly under center. At home, then you are using a volume count. It's just something that's going to take a period of time, and you can't be unrealistic to think it's going to get perfected just because we're watching the Bears.
All right, time for Tom's thoughts. We started off with Fast Twitch. What do you got, buddy?
Fast Twitch. Listen, this is the offense and the defense of the Cincinnati Bengals, and if you're not on guard early, you're going to be left behind because Joe Flacco is not taking his time and making the decisions. He's throwing the ball immediately. If he starts a slight little roll to his right or his left, know that he's taking a shot downfield.
Austin Booker expected to return. They say he's looking good in practice. Perfect cure for the pass rush?
6'8", 350.
Oh, Amarius Mims.
No, Orlando Brown.
Oh, what?
The left tackle. So what I'm saying is, see, when you when you look at Austin Booker, he is an explosive out of his stance pass rusher that has low leverage with quickness. Orlando Brown is the tallest playing offensive tackle that I've seen in probably the last however many years. He's super tall. He doesn't have great bendability. He's got an awkward stance where he moves his left foot first. And I just think when Austin Booker can come in to get into the mix on these passing downs, I really do believe that he could take advantage of the awkwardness of this one offensive tackle in his creativeness and his explosiveness.
All right, and lastly, got to do this one quickly. Bears got to win the chase. Love the play on words by Mr. English over here.
So Jamar Chase and Chase Brown, they've touched the ball 70 times in the last 2 weeks. If you don't stop those two guys, then you're going to limit your chances for success. So however you get to that chase, whether it's the backfield chase or the receiver chase, you better limit their success because they're going to have plenty of touches in this game.
A word on Zach Taylor. Press Taylor's brother is the Bears passing game coordinator. Their first game was a Bears-Steelers game. Mike Singletary's final game at Soldier Field. They got on the field, the whole deal. So this will be a kind of an interesting thing, even though it's not here. They're calling for, maybe we should make a change. In his third year, he went to the Super Bowl. In his fourth year, the AFC title game. In his fifth year, he lost Joe Burrow for 7 games. They still went 9-8. And last year, with a historically bad defense, they set a bunch of records offensively and 9-8 again. And then they start this year, and Joe Burrow gets hurt again. I'm sorry. It's not the head coach. I mean, these are circumstances that I have to look past in this world of getting rid of coaches so quickly when things are not going the way you want them to be. That's just a thought for me, Tom. I'm sure you agree to some extent.
I agree 100%.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Thanks to Kendra Smith in ESPN Studios, and Dan Briley, Jordan Tredup, and Katie Fox. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. This has been Bears Weekly on the radio home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago. Amber and Ian are next.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.